Welcome back to another Escape from Tarkov video. Today I'm going to be going back to my roots and we'll be discussing 4 budget weapons for the new 12.9 wipe. I'd like to start with a bit of a rundown of what I'll be covering. First off, the budget builds I'm going to be making are based off the weapons that players start with in their stash. So for USECs, these are the M4s and the MP5s, and bears have the AK-74Ms and the PP19s. Now, there are the MDRs and the RPK, and you get one of them if you have, I think, Edge of Darkness, but I'm not going to be covering those, as those I wouldn't really consider budget weapons at this point in wipe. So again, just the AK-74Ms, PP19s, M4s, and MP5s. Secondly, I'll quickly mention the ammo to use with these, and my assumption here is it'll be early enough in wipe that you won't need to worry about Altons and tier 6 and tier 5 body armor yet. And the last thing to mention is that I'll be doing 2 variants of each, using what traders you have available at level 1 first, and then a variant based on what traders you have unlocked, except for mechanic level 2, which should be level 15, and this will give you some flexibility on the builds for when you do hit level 15. And a quick mention, the M4 and the MP5, there isn't really much you can do for them at level 1, so there's only going to be one build of each for those. However, the second build, which would be equivalent to the level 15 build for the PP19 and the AK-74M, is actually available at about level 10 because that's when Peacekeeper 2 unlocks. Starting us off, I'll be focusing on the AK-74M. I have 2 builds for this one for level 1s and one for 15s. The first build is extremely basic and you only need to grab a couple of parts. Prapor sells a handguard called the AK-100 series handguard, so grab that and grab the dovetail mounted Cobra sight from him as well. This should total you about 15,000 rubles. The final part you'll need is the VPG foregrip from Peacekeeper level 1. This is the only vertical foregrip you have access to at this point, and it adds 7 ergonomics to the build. The build results in 53 ergonomics and 91 vertical recoil, so it is a fairly high recoil build, but overall still a great gun at level 1, and the ammo you want to use is PS ammo. And with this, aim for the upper torso area in the face, as it's going to struggle against level 3 to 4 armor, but considering that face shields aren't very common yet, and this is still about a week into wipe when I'm recording this, so the PS ammo functions just fine, but if it's way later in wipe when you come to this video, say 2 to 3 months in or later, you'll want to buy BT ammo either from Flea if you can, or you can get a friend to bring you in better ammo if they're willing to do that. The second build will require you to be level 15 so that you'll have access to Flea, which means BT ammo will now be available, as well as getting which is reliable up to level 4 armor and can likely take out level 5 if you can land a salvo of shots. To start this build, you'll want to grab the AK-100 series handguard from Prapor, along with the Tactica TT-01 rear sight mount and the rubber butt pad for AKs. Next, go to Peacekeeper and grab the SAW-style pistol grip for AKs. There's a tan one as well as a black one, so pick whichever you want, and the EOTech hollow sight. I think this is the EXPS 01 or 02. And you can use another sight if you prefer. But EOTechs are some of my favorites, especially early game. The last pieces you need are from Skier, and they are the DTK Zenit muzzle brake and the RK4 foregrip. Overall, this brings the build down to up to 57 ergonomics and down to 77 vertical recoiling, making it quite the improvement over the previous build for not much more cost. At level 15, since you've unlocked Prapor 2, you'll want to start using PP ammo. It's very similar to BP, but slightly worse, and it costs 150 rubles over 400 rubles. It is reliable up to tier 3 and should put down tier 4 armor with slightly more effort. BT again is the best alternative, which will be around 400 to 600 rubles per round on Flea, so PP is still a better budget choice because it's still going to be 250 rubles cheaper, just like it is for BP. The next build is for the M4. As I mentioned at the very beginning, there is only one build for this gun, as level 1 Peacekeeper literally has no mods for the M4 along with Skier, only starting to give choices at level 2, which you can acquire at level 10, so you need to wait until about level 10 to make this build. My suggestion for level 1 M4s is just to run it stock and then use parts you find in raid to stitch the gun into a decent build, as weapon boxes and world spawns will have options for these. Besides weapon boxes, the green crates also spawn a lot of parts too. For the actual build, you'll want to head to Peacekeeper. Remember, you need Peacekeeper level 2, which will require you to be level 10. So first, grab the KAC handguard, a sight of your choice. I again went with the EOTech, the Tango Gray stubby foregrip, or the tan if you want that instead, the KAC QDC muzzle brake, and the Chris Defiance Gray stock. The last bit from Peacekeeper is the KAC rear sight. This adds 1 ergo and is pretty cheap, so I find it to be worth it. The final piece for this build is the Mark 12 gas block, which you can purchase from Mechanic Level 1. You will not be able to attach the handguard until you put this gas block on, so feel free to grab that first before putting all the other parts on. This build ends up with 62 ergonomics and 75 vertical recoil, putting it on par with the level 15's AK-74M stats, except with more ergonomics. The downside to NATO 5.56 right now is that the ammo is generally a bit worse than 5.45 up until endgame, so even though the gun has better stats, it will struggle a bit more to kill armored targets than 5.45. Currently, the best option until you unlock 8.56A1 through the questing of Peacekeeper is to use the 8.55 ammo, which you get at level 1. And again, aim for the upper torso, head area, and try to land a headshot so you face hitbox them and don't have to worry about blowing 30 bullets on them. So the second and last build is for the PP19, the first available Russian 9x19 SMG. The first build is incredibly basic, much like the first AK-74M. To start, you'll need to get a dovetail mounted Cobra sight and the AK-100 series handguard from Prapor. Next, you'll want the VPG foregrip from Peacekeeper, and your build is done. That's it. With the 9x19 SMGs, including the MP5 build and the next PP19 build, you'll want to just run PSTGZH, which is available from Mechanic 1. It's a little weaker than the rifles you start with, but if you aim for the head, you should still be able to reliably put down targets. Leg meta may work for this too, but personally, I find aiming for the face works best for me. Again, especially because early in the wipe right about now, not many people are running face shields. The build comes out to 59 ergonomics and 50 vertical recoil, making it quite a nice gun to run early on in the wipe. The second build is fairly similar, but we can use some of the parts from Prapor and Skier 2 now. The AK-100 series handguard is the first piece, followed by the Vitya's railed dust cover. The last bit you need from Prapor is the AK rubber butt pad, which attaches to the folding stock. And the last two pieces I used are the RK foregrip from Skier and an EOTech holosight from Peacekeeper. And remember to use whichever sight you prefer. And because you're using the railed dust cover, you can put any sight that doesn't require a dovetail mount on this gun. The second build, this one, comes out to 59 ergonomics and 45 vertical recoil, so not a lot is changing from the first build, but it'll be a bit easier to control from the previous build, and you're more easily able to attach some of the nicer mods that you might want to use over the first build. So the final build is for the MP5, and much like I said for the M4, there isn't really anything you can do at level 1 with this gun, so just go ahead and use it stock. It has decent stats and handles well, so it's a great starter weapon. The build I'm going to be making only requires you to be level 10 like the M4, so have it a bit earlier than the AK-74M and PP19 second tier build. To start off, grab the aluminum TL99 handguard from Peacekeeper, the grey Tango stubby foregrip, and the 3-lug threaded protector for MP5. The reason you want to take this is because it allows you to easily attach a 9x19 suppressor if you find one or want to buy one. The last two pieces you need are the MFI HK Universal Low Mount and a sight of choice to go on it, and I again went with an EOTech. This build comes out to 69 ergonomics and 47 vertical recoil, making it arguably better than the PP19 on both of its build, and it also comes with 800 rounds per minute opposed to the 700 from the PP19. For this one, you'll want to use PSTGZH like I mentioned earlier, and aim for the upper torso and head with this ammo. As a final closing statement, I just wanted to note that from level 1 to 15, your best bet outside of these weapons is to use found and raid items. When I was progressing to 15, I would loot all of the weapon boxes and green boxes I could find, looking for suppressors and scopes, and occasionally I'd also check out Fence because even though he does sell stuff a bit more expensive, when you really have no other choice, so this is from 10 and below, it's nice to be able to grab a suppressor once in a while. Once you get past level 15, I suggest focusing on some quests to get Peacekeeper 3 and Prapor 3 as they open up some more options for gear and ammo, which will make your wipe a lot easier. And at level 20, Mechanic 2 opens up, and he has a ton of new mods for you which will also help greatly. Finally, As I was looking at NATO opposed to Russian weapons, it kind of dawned on me that there's a bit of an imbalance, and I think they need to make some of the mods for MP5s and MP4 or M4s available earlier, as you can mod AKs and PP19s quite a bit from level 1, whereas the MP5 and M4 have literally 0 parts that you can buy at all at level 1. That really changed the gun. And sure, you can find parts in Raid, but if the Russian weapons have it, so should the NATO, because the weapons are pretty on par, and there's 2 factions, there's Zusek and Barrett. It should make sense that both factions have equal access, at least in the beginning, to the parts they need to modify their specific faction weapons. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed, as both of these really help the channel out and will show me that you guys like and don't like. And please comment a post below if you disagree or agree or have anything else you'd like to point out or add. I'll be sure to respond, as I appreciate the feedback. I'm also streaming again on Twitch and sometimes right here on YouTube, thanks to getting a new graphics card. I also have a Twitter, which you can find the link to down below. I'm not very good at it yet, but feel free to follow me. As another mention, I'm aiming to get 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year so that I could try to get partnered with YouTube. So if you guys could subscribe, it'll really help me get there. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.